Now I'd like to introduce our series of expert panelists here next to me. Right now we have Dani, Richa, Chairman and Group Chief Executive Officer at Impact BBDO International. We have Sir Martin Sorrell, Founder and Executive Chairman of S4 Capital. And finally, we have Jordi van den Bussche, who's Founder and Chief Executive Officer of JVDB Studios. I want to start, and we'll go down the line. Jordi, let's start with you. What is the wildest or most innovative thing each of you are using AI to do or seeing AI to do in content creation right now? Jordi.
So I started making YouTube videos 12 years ago, amassed over 20 million followers, and then I said, you know what, let's innovate and let's replace myself with AI. So all the videos that I now post, they're a photorealistic model of me, but it's not actually me. I would say that's by far the craziest thing I've done with AI so far.
Yeah. Sir Martin?
Well, there are sort of 5 things that we see. The first related to what Jordi said, which was visualization and copywriting. So collapsing the time that it takes to make film and content, both in terms of time taken and cost. That's one. Second is personalization at scale, what I call Netflix on steroids. So that model of personalized content using first-party data, that's client, consumer consented client data, plus the signals from the platforms. Huge increase in number of assets used. Third area is media planning and buying. It's a $1 trillion industry that we're in, so it's not a huge industry. You know, Blackstone or BlackRock might manage $13 trillion each. So it's chump change in relation to them, but it's not algorithmically done, and you're starting to see that happen. The fourth area is general efficiency. Outside broadcasting is a really good example of where we've lowered the cost with NVIDIA, AWS, and Adobe by something like 80 or 90% through using AI and cloud. And the final area, which I think is the most exciting and highly relevant to what's happening here in Saudi, is flattening organizations through dissemination, democratization of knowledge. So those are the 5 things. I would say the first 2 are on steroids at the moment.
Yeah.
Agentic films, that's synthetic use of human beings, so synthetic Jordis,
like
or
Jordis, yeah.
multiple or digital twins, or triplets or quadruplets.
Unlimited.
That's on fire at the moment.
Yeah.
Agentic films are really the big growth area.
Yeah. I want to come back to that later. And Dani, what about you?
Look, I want to start by talking about something that was done that was never possible before. And it's a beautiful example of human creativity and AI making that creativity happen. Salvador Dali wrote a film, a script, beautiful film, called Giraffes on the Backs of Horseback Salads. And he had several attempts with Hollywood to produce it. Director after director, year after year, everybody said, impossible, we can't do that. And sadly, he passed away and didn't see his film made. Recently, one of the Omnicom companies, Goodby Silverstein and Partners, teamed up with the Dali Museum and actually, using generative AI, produced the film exactly as Dali imagined it, scene by scene, moment by moment, and is absolutely superb. I wish he would have seen it. I mean, his jaw would have dropped, his mustache too, probably. But it's absolutely brilliant. And what AI is doing is allowing the human mind, allowing creativity to produce things that were not possible before. Right. And what I like about that is when you see it, and I encourage the audience to check it out, is you see it, it's superb. You're not going to say AI is brilliant. You're going to say Dali is brilliant. So at the end of the day, the idea, the real creativity comes from us, and AI is there to bring it to life.
Yeah, but the problem for us, as you know, is it's collapsing the time taken to produce this stuff. And the holding companies, of which BBDO is part of Omnicom, but all the holding companies, probably 25% to 40%, maybe even more, of their revenue is generated by the traditional old ways of creating content. And it's collapsing the amount of time. And agencies are paid on the basis of time.
Right.
So procurement departments at clients and government departments are starting to say, it doesn't take you so much time, therefore revenue will be impacted. So you're seeing significant disintermediation and disruption of the traditional ways of producing content. I mean, Jordi would be a good example of it, but of course he didn't have a business to disintermediate. And that's the big issue. And the agency valuations are heavily impacted by the market's suspicion that AI is disintermediating the way that we traditionally did stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And Jordi, I then want to come to you because you created this AI persona of yourself. You said it stemmed from burnout, which I found was really interesting, the churn and burn of being a creator, having to produce every day. But when you put this out there, you faced some serious backlash. People said they felt so disconnected from you. You got really hateful comments. How did that feel to be, the victim of all that hate? And what did it teach you about putting this out there going forward?
Yeah, to me it meant that I was probably poking in the right spot. Because if I can, just make one video or make a few videos and reach so many people and create so much discourse, then it means that I'm certainly doing what I'm good at, and that is reaching, global audience. So to me, it felt like, okay, I'm doing something right. I'm in the right spot. I'm still very early, and let's go and explore. And this occurred about 2 years ago, and people would look at it at our first iteration of Quabblecop AI, and they said it looks bad. It doesn't look good. No one's going to watch this. Now, fast forward 2 years, and some of the biggest tech companies in the world are releasing brand new AI video models pretty much every single week. And recently, OpenAI launched a full-fledged AI video platform that, as the main selling point, lets you clone yourself and make videos of yourself. So I would say I was pretty spot on. I was nice and early, and I'll do it again.
Who cares about the haters?
The technology is developing at light speed. So if we had showed you the agentic work that we were producing at Monks in January for Puma and compared it to the film we've just done for Shell a month or so ago, the technology improved to a heavy degree. So you've got, Google is our biggest client. Ruth was here this morning. Alphabet, Google is our biggest client relationship. VO3 is the video platform. But there's Sorrell, there's Runway, which we've invested in through our venture fund. There's Humane, and Luma here in the Kingdom, which we did the launch for, some of the launch work for. So these are all platforms that are improving the quality. And this whole issue of synthetic people or using synthetic people, I think over time, it's a bit like Jordi said in relation to his first film and now, over time, maybe in 3 or 4 years' time, consumers will fully accept what's happening.
Well, I want to ask, because I want to play Jordi's video, and then I'd love to get both of your reactions too on what's acceptable and what's not. So let's cue up the video. With that.
Oh, you thought I was gone? Come on, guys. Yeah! This is the new generation of Quabblecop AI, and I can do much cooler stuff now. I'm unleashing a more ambitious version of me. More creative. I'm done with the main quest. I'm doing the side quests now. Catch me in the next videos. Because I'm going huge. I've never felt so good.
See, I think when I first saw that, I think I showed it to my parents and they thought it was really you, and it's hard to tell. But I want to go down the line, and Dani, I want to start with you. What boundaries do you think should be in place after seeing that for what an AI creator or a brand agent is allowed to say or to do?
Look, I think the self-regulation or the values that we applied doing things before AI should continue to apply. You know, and if something was deemed ethical, it should continue. We should look at it with that lens, whether it's produced by AI or not. If it's real, it should continue to be real. I mean, this is like movies that are produced in like kind of science fiction or you know, bigger than life. And then you have the real stories that are down to earth, and then people can choose what they want to watch. But from a what's right and what's not right, I think the values should not change.
So Martin, any boundaries?
That film is not the issue.
Yeah.
Because that's him.
Yep.
That's like the work that we're doing with UTA and CAA about digital twins.
Yeah. Or
So
even digital
instead
actresses.
of, you know, if you want Paris Hilton at an event, this was a specific thing, could you have two Paris Hiltons? You know, Paris could be in Paris when she's in London. That's different. What the real issue is, two things. One is about IP and copyright. Now, clearly, Jordi consented to that film, produced it. The issue is when you don't consent, that's one thing. The second thing is, that's a real person, cartoonized or animated or whatever. The real issue is when you use synthetic people. So I'll give you a specific example. I was in Australia just recently, and one client had not used AI for a production budget. And we said to him, you can drastically reduce your costs by using AI agentic techniques to produce the commercials. There were 3 commercials. 2 involved actually football crowds at an Australian football game and to Australian rules. And we could use synthetic people for that. The other one, interestingly, was of a cancer patient. A woman was used, it was an insurance company, used in a campaign, having her head shaved and everything. And you clearly couldn't use a synthetic person for that, because it was a real person. So the real issue that people are worried about is using material without copyright. It's similar to the issues you had around news with News Corp in Australia and Facebook. You remember it was a deal.
Yep.
There have to be economic deals sorted out with the platforms, with the copyright holders. So that's one area. The second area is consumers' acceptance of the use of real synthetic people, not what we saw in the film, but real, you know, imaginary people in advertising and the like. You know, they are regarded as being fake people.
Yeah.
Over time, our view, I think, is over the next 2-3 years, that will become commonplace. And the reason is the economics. We're talking about huge disruption. I mean, you're talking about reductions in cost of as much as 80-90% of production cost just going out the window. And taking create costs down, whilst media costs and creating more money for media investment will become more and more important.
Yeah. Jordi, I think going along with that, you know, 2 questions. 1, have you seen, you know, revenue for you and your company change because of this? And 2, is there anything that you would never let your AI version of you do or say? What are your personal limits?
Yeah, so with my company, we went all in on AI influencers, and I would say about 90% of our revenue now is generated by our virtual/AI influencers. We have one that has generated over 5 billion watch minutes, so that's quite a lot already, all organic. And then to answer, like, what would I want my AI to never do? It's do things that are illegal or not allowed on the platform. At the end of the day, it's a risk that I carry. I said, you know, people are allowed to make content with my AI character, but even then and there, the platforms will not allow quite extensive. Like a bunch of things are not allowed on these platforms where you generate these videos, right? So yeah, I would say be creative, be free, and maybe one day I'll see something, and then I'll adjust my stance, and I might say, okay, this is too much. But I've seen some pretty funny and weird stuff already.
Yeah, definitely disturbing stuff out there already.
Regulation is going to have to be self-regulation. I mean,
You don't think government
no, the cat is out of
step in?
the cat is out of the bag. We've missed the Oppenheimer moment, right? You know, everybody compares, not everybody, many people compare it to control of nuclear weapons. Okay?
Really?
Yeah, but these companies, you know, Apple, 4 trillion, okay? Musk's compensation in his latest plan is geared to a $10 trillion valuation. I have no doubt, he said, that Musk or Tesla will get to that valuation at some point in time. We will have a $10 trillion economy. To put that into perspective, that is bigger than all countries in the world, if they stood still, other than 2, United States and China. Otherwise, it would be a $10 trillion company would effectively be the 3rd biggest. They are nation states. The ability of governments to control them, I think, has gone to, maybe to a limited degree, it's still there, but not totally. So self-regulation, the platform saying to Jordi, that's acceptable, that's not acceptable.
Right.
Thing. Now, the measuring stick has moved since the Trump White House, or Trump 2.0. Clearly, the restrictions you saw under the, rightly or wrongly, Biden administration, the investment that Meta makes in editorial control have been reduced.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's a moving.
It is definitely a moving target. And I want to come to the audience in just a second for questions, but Dani, I want to ask you about that too.
We're looking at this just, I mean, we kind of zeroed down on making artificial avatars, but the real potential and the real opportunity is when you allow real people, thanks to AI, get into immersive worlds, experiences. I mean, if you look at, we storytellers, we're talking about storytellers. Storytellers are now become kind of architects of multi-dimensions. You look at Google's Genie, that's a cutting-edge initiative that they're working on, allows people with just one prompt to create the world that they want. Yeah. So if the prompt is, I want to be in a candy city, you are, as a person, walking around, moving around a city made with candies, you know, towers made with chocolate, sliding down, living it, walking around. So those experiences, you're real, and that kind of level of engagement that AI is allowing us to do with the, is going to create such strong experiences, relationships between brands and people, an opportunity to sell and to have a two-way feedback. Yeah. So, I mean, the real opportunity is really there in how real people experience, you know, those virtual worlds.
I have a follow-up, but I want to see if there's any questions in the audience. If so, raise your hand and a microphone will come over to you. All right, well then I'll keep going. I guess, Dani, my question to that is that good? Because whenever I see, you know, all this AI-generated stuff in my feed, I think a lot of the criticism is that, oh, this is just a lot of AI slop, and it's going to saturate the market. Where's the human spark here? Is that good to have all of that on your feed?
Look, it is good because, you know, I mean, if you step back a little bit, we used to, the shift that really happened is we used to talk 1 to millions, like broadcast. Then we got a bit more sophisticated and we kind of started doing one-on-one, like kind of whispering to somebody in your feed. We know you're interested in SUVs, you'd find an SUV. We know you like it red, you'll see it in red. Right. But that's as far as it stopped. Now, with the capabilities that AI offer us in terms of the listening, the data in real time, you get, it's a two-way street. You get to feedback what you like, what you don't like, shape the story that's being told to do, and even shape the products and the offerings. So this is really, I mean, when they say AI is taking away power from the people, it's actually the opposite. It's giving power to the people.
Interesting.
And whether the image is synthetic or not, it's relevant to you. It touches you. And if it doesn't touch you, just ignore it.
But that's the
Frank, what do you
argument. The question behind what you're saying, or what's behind what you are asking, is the comment from James Quincy at Coca-Cola, who said, you know, if everybody is doing personalization at scale,
Yep.
how do you differentiate?
Exactly.
Well, the good thing about that is that human beings will be the differentiator. So you'll have the tool will spit out, the algorithm will spit out, using first-party data, using the signals from the platforms, will spit out the answer, and the human being will decide which, just to give you an idea of the scale of this, we do a lot of work with Netflix. Prior to AI being implemented, and it started, this goes back to 2014, probably in the acquisition of DeepMind by Alphabet in 2014, and before. Prior to that, we might produce for Netflix Narcos or Squid Games, or the equivalent, let's say 1.5 million different assets, at least in theory, using 50 to 70,000 of those assets in a fairly concentrated form. Now you can do multiples of that.
Right.
So we are talking about huge libraries, huge asset numbers for use. The human dimension becomes more important. One other thing I just want to emphasize, out of the $1 trillion that our clients spend on media, Google, Alphabet represents 250 billion last year. Meta is 150 billion. Amazon is 60. And TikTok outside China is 40. Those four platforms are 500 billion out of $1 trillion. So they're half the market. Digital is 700 billion out of the trillion. So those four platforms represent 70% of the digital market. So you've got huge concentration. And the investment needed in AI, the hyperscalers are investing $500 billion a year between them on AI capacity, data, energy, and whatever. So they're reinforcing their position, which is based on data and distribution. So the market is hugely concentrated. And CMOs in this order, and I get criticized for saying it, I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
The decision making has got simpler. Because the range of alternatives that you have, if you're a CMO, are really quite narrow. I mean, at the margin, just to emphasize the point, you drop down to Microsoft at 19 billion, and Apple at 19 billion, and Apple at 11 billion, and then you drop down to Snap at 6. So it's hugely concentrated and likely to remain concentrated.
Yeah. Jordi, looking toward the future, how much of your content do you think is going to be AI generated? And are there any misconceptions that you want to clear up about all of this and what the work you're doing?
So the misconception is that I'm going to go back to do real content. I'm not. So to answer that too, 100% of my content is going to be Gen AI for various reasons. But how I see this is a new way of storytelling. This is new technology. And it would be absolutely stupid to say, let's stick to this old way of doing it, when very clearly the future is going to be more AI, better AI, and there's so many benefits to it. For example, we can generate 1,000 videos, 10,000 videos of me every single day, and then we can just simply filter and figure out what's the most viral one, and then those are the ones we distribute for a fraction of what it would cost for us to generate those videos or produce those videos manually. Plus, I'm building a business here, right? So it would be stupid to say the CEO of the business is also going to be the product of this business, and his time is going to be a limiting factor in how fast we can expand and grow, right? So AI solves this key man problem, and thus it allows creators and storytellers to reach new heights.
The conversation focuses on content, and we're sitting here in Riyadh, in Saudi, in the Middle East. And one of the I mentioned the sort of phase 3 or item 3 was media planning and buying.
Yep.
I mean, this is, again, a controversial thing to say, but I will put my head into the lion's mouth. One of the biggest problems in the Middle Eastern market is opacity and lack of transparency. And the big thing, or one of the big things, that the use of algorithms is going to do, and the use of AI technology and blockchain technology, and maybe the metaverse, and what Ruth mentioned this morning, quantum, is going to do, is open up the market. I mean, it is, and I will say this, ludicrous that clients do not know the precise details of what they pay for media. Because media is their biggest cost. Just to put it in perspective, content costs should in theory be about 10% of media costs. They're probably running at 15 to 20%. That's a big opportunity to lower the cost with AI, but it's the other 80% or 90% that there's a lack of focus. And what blockchain, AI, the metaverse, and quantum will do is make the market totally transparent. It's not just in the Middle East. There are other parts of the world where we see it as well. But that is going to end.
Yep.
And that is really to the good, because the friction, that's a polite word, is unappealing to clients and actually at their heart unacceptable.
I wish we had more time. Thank you three for joining us. Thank you all for listening.